Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Welcome to this second meeting of the year 2024 of the Regional Cash Working Group. We'll be privileged to have 3 presentations. As usual, we have interpretation available. If you would like to attend the meeting in French or English, please click on the interpretation globe and select your language. Next slide, please. So, as usual, the meeting will be recorded and put on the CALP Network website in the coming days. And we are going to share with all the participants the link so that you could have access to the meeting if you are interested. Please speak at a low pace so that the interpreters could interpret accurately what you are saying. So this is the agenda of today's meeting. We are going to start with a roundtable of all the cash working groups in the regions, at least those who are connected. Then we will have 2 presentations on cash transfer in complex areas. The first one will be a presentation which will be done by NRC, and the second one will be done by Solidarity International. And finally, we will have a presentation on the validation of the annual work plan of the Regional Cash Working Group. We've drafted the annual work plan, and we are going to show it to you in order for all of us to discuss about it. Later on, we'll have any other business. If you have some points to discuss, please do not hesitate to mention them in the chat box. Or if we are coming through to the end of the meeting, you can raise your hand and we will give you the floor if you have another thing to talk about. Please, in the chat box, put your name, your title, and the country you are joining us from so that we can know who is attending this meeting. And for those of you who are making a presentation, please switch on your camera so that everybody could see you. We are going to start now with the round table. I'm now going to give the floor to the cash working group. Burkina Faso. Sani, are you there? Good morning, everyone. Next time we have to do it other way around. We'll start with the last country in the alphabetic order. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sani. I am the cash working group lead with OCHA. As for the situation in Burkina Faso, it's the status quo with the cash transfer since the end of year 2023. But the advocacy work is still ongoing with the commitments in various sectors, including the sector of development, and also commitment from the donors so that we can discuss and got engaged with the government for possible alternatives to the current situation with notably the possibility of using vouchers. But let's say that it's a hot topic which mobilizes everyone. All the access issues we have in Burkina Faso, and also due to the reality we are facing, cash transfers will be fundamental to assist those who are affected by the crisis. The second element that I would like to share with you Burkina Faso, and which could be an opportunity for us, actors of cash transfer, is that at the beginning of February, the government took an administrative act which creates a new program of support to vulnerable households. And in that program, one of the major axes or one of the major intervention axis is cash transfer. So we believe that this will be an opportunity to leverage on in order to work more on the ongoing activities. But for now, it's not yet operational. And the discussions, including the resource mobilization of the state itself, maybe next time we will see how this will be operationalized. And during the next phase of the safety nets project, this could serve as a basis to relaunch cash transfer activities. Thank you. Those are the points I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much, Sani. For because of time, if you have questions for Sani, for the cash working groups of various countries, please put your questions in the chat box, and the cash working groups will answer directly. If they see that there is an important question, if you have time, we could address them by giving you the floor and also allowing the cash working groups to respond. Thank you very much. We are now going to move to Cameroon. Dr. Alinia Aliusiu, are you there? Are you online? Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mirko. Sorry, I have an issue with my camera. In Cameroon, we I am the program associate, and we have WFP, which works also on the cash working group. The first information that I would like to share is that the cash working group in Cameroon has finalized the new model of consultation, and of course, OCHA works on the programmatic note on the national level. And WFP was appointed as the co-chair, programmatic co-chair for the year 2024. Discussions are ongoing with subnational cash working groups in order to see how we can build on the achievements in the work that has been done with non-governmental organizations, be it international or local, and also safety nets program. Now we are finalizing the feasibility studies of cash transfers, which is one of the elements of the Action Plan 2024, which was validated and presented to the humanitarian team in the country, which made some recommendations and approved this program. We are now thinking about its implementation, which will consist essentially in strengthening capacities and also use this as an advocacy and also find out a link between humanitarian transfer, cash transfers and social protection, and of course, technical support and technical discussions on the monitoring of transfers value. In Cameroon, there is an increase in fuel prices, and we are currently working on this action plan in order to appreciate the impact of that increase on the households' incomes. So all this will be done with all the actors, including those of social protection of the government, humanitarian stakeholders as well. And we hope that at the end of the day, we will keep the achievements of transfers values that we have started developing together since 2022. So that's all for Cameroon. Thank you. Over to you, Nico. Thank you, Jerry. I don't know if you have questions. If that's the case, please put your questions in the chat box. For Sani of the Cash Working Group of Burkina Faso, I think a question is asked to them. Maybe if you have to respond at the end, if you have time. And now we are going to give the floor to Chad. Chad, Hassan, or Jago, are you connected? like to know if one of you is online because I'm not seeing you. Thank you, Mirko, for this question. And thank you, William. I don't know when you were talking about timeline, what you mean by this. But currently, I'll say that we cannot exactly know the date on which we will have a decision from the authorities. But what is sure is that there is a work which is engaged, as I was saying, in order to discuss with the various authorities, the actors that are concerned, and also have more flexibility and think about the removal of some measures. And if not, we will conduct discussions on how, in the areas where there is a strong security pressure, we could at least use or see the possibility of using the vouchers. So I don't know if you're talking about the timeline before a given activity, or I cannot give you a date with regards to that. So these are ongoing discussions, and we are continuing the monitoring of the situation. I would like to clarify this. Thank you very much for responding to my question, William. From the humanitarian office in Washington, I'm asking this question because I appreciate the difficulty related to the cash limitations that we are facing. I was in Burkina Faso last year to support Burkina Faso. I am closely monitoring the situation. However, I'm a bit afraid that we are on a decreasing pathway. I can understand the difficulty, but it's been some months now. I don't know, maybe in April last year. It's almost a year now. We don't have any solution, and it's important to have more clarity and set the limits in terms of time and say, well, we have till so and so month to negotiate, and later on have an idea of how to scale up, or like asking support from the donors and uh, involve the diplomatic issue as if like it was last time. We don't want something going down and avoid coming back in 6 months and saying there is no progress on this. Thank you. Thank you. With regards to engagement at the highest level, as you've mentioned, that's what I was saying. At this stage, in a more precise way, the discussion is more political, and that's the reason why, for example, all the dossiers pass through the humanitarian coordinators. As you came to Burkina, you know how the system works. And currently, the Germany is discussing with the political leaders in order to progress on this case. Unfortunately, we are in a situation which is difficult, and we cannot give you precisely a date. But on the other hand, the clear message we are sharing to all the actors is to focus on in-kind assistance and see what are the other alternatives in the current context. So that is the difficulty we have. Thank you very much, Stanley. In any other business, we can explain a bit more what is the situation at the regional and international level with regards to uh, cash transfer prohibitions. We will we have the case in Burkina Faso, but we will tell you what we are doing in other countries. There is another question in the chat box. If you want to address it, feel free. Otherwise, we move to another country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Lindell, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Mirko. I would like to share my screen because I've prepared a small presentation for you to see what we have done. Thank you, everyone. We have 3 points in GRC. The first one is that we've launched a main consultative group in order to make sure that even though the coordinator changes, discussions will still ongoing, and the coordinations team will be held accountable vis-à-vis the members, and some achievements could not be left behind. And the selection criteria for the main consultative group is to show experience in operational capacity and also have a capacity technique in the field on cash transfer, sorry. We also have a senior advisory group, which is reassuring. We are going to start our meetings, and we organize meetings 3 or 4 times a year in our group, senior advisory group. We have the WFP, but also national organizations. We have 3 of them. We have SAFER, which is one of the biggest consortiums, emergency consortiums using cash transfers. We have ex-EPEV, which has a very localized presence in Congo, what is really interesting. We also have Give Directly, which has some operations despite the innovative operations despite their problems, and are also involved in social protection. We also have the World Bank. So we believe that having the World Bank in our senior advisory group will ensure a more technical discussion and also ensure discussions with regards to social registers which are in GRC, but also with regards to transfer values, etc. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we have engagement with the central bank. I made a mistake on the next slide, sorry. We have 2 major problems in GRC. The first one is that we don't have any important commitment with regards to the monitoring of the market. And we, especially for education, health sectors, we don't have data. We would like to discuss about it with the central bank in order to have access to their data with regards to inflation and being able to have access to granular data because they have it on a weekly basis. This will help us to triangulate this data. Secondly, we need to have discussion with central bank in order to have a map, a more detailed or comprehensive mapping of the financial services, and this will apply also to the mobile money. It will help us to identify liquidation points because DRC is a very big country and organizations tend to work with the matrix of financial services which don't have the genuine will or the capacities to be everywhere and to serve everybody. So we are going to discuss with the central bank. We also had discussions with the World Bank, and we are about to have a meeting with them and use OCHA support to ensure that commitment. The third thing is that we've launched some financial services providers, and we've received 26 answers of the survey, and 25 of them were valid. We've understood that financial services providers are not used, are not used neither for pre-funding nor for identification of the beneficiaries in terms of liquidity and cash transfer. As organizations are continuing using financial service providers, the traditional ones like banks and microcredit. Humanitarian organizations are not really profitable for these financial service providers. So they're saying we are not going to get involved in this. And we think that it will be more relevant in the DRC context to identify non-traditional financial service providers, look at development organizations, cooperatives, and the small traders for areas where we need cash transfer. So that's it. Thank you very much. Sorry for being a bit long. My slide is just mixed up. Sorry. Sorry for, and thank you for these three interesting points that you've mentioned. I don't know if you have questions for DRC Cash Working Group. Let me check in the room if there are questions. Please, you can also put those questions in the chat box. I can see that Chad is not around. Let's move to Mali. Jibril, are you there? Good morning, everyone. And thank you very much. Mali, a cash working group has 4 points to share with you. One of them is the collaboration that we've recently had with the protection sector cluster after the development of the guidelines for interventions in terms of cash in Mali. It was necessary to see with the protection cluster how we will develop a guideline of 5 to 6 pages and how to mainstream these modalities in the response functions, taking into consideration the Mali context. It is based on that we've initiated a task force on cash and protection with various stakeholders, PSCA, specialists in protection, and this triggered the development of a guideline which will soon be operational in Mali. So that's the first point for us. Moreover, one of the key points that we want to share with you is the recent collaboration that we've initiated with the Social Protection 1K group in Mali. As you know, there is a group of social protection in Mali which works with the ministry, WFP, the World Bank, under the leadership of the National Directorate of Social Protection and Solidarity-Based Economy. So, based on the national strategy of the Cash Working Group, which was approved in December 2023, we had to make the link between the humanitarian cash transfer and social protection. So we've initiated a collaboration with that group of social protection in order to see how we could integrate or mainstream or make the link between social protection and cash, and also see how to mobilize the resources in order to recruit consultants who will help us in Mali to create that nexus. Without further ado, let me add that recently we've organized the elections of the programmatic pool in Mali. After the end of the transition period in Mali, this also triggered the election of the programmatic pool, which is IRC. And in the coming days, International Red Cross will ensure programmatic leadership in Mali. Finally, we are also working with the Malian government on the development of a social protection scheme. The procedure is ongoing with the group of consultants, which is already conducting some studies. And with regards to that, we try to work in order to develop these activities. Sorry, please. One last point, we have the report, the annual report of the cash working group, which is developed and which will be put online, I think today or tomorrow. And it shows the situation of people in Mali during the year 2023. And this will be published today. Thank you. Thank you, Jibril. If you have questions, please ask them in the chat box. Or if you want to say something, please let us know. Let's move to Niger Cash Working Group. Fadim O'Connelly, are you there? Yes, good morning, Mirko. Good morning, everyone. My name is Fatima Soumanifa from Ocha, Niger, and we are the lead of the cash working group. We have 2 points. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Yes, we can hear you. Actually, we have 2 points that we would like to share with you. The first one is with regards to the reduction of the MEB. We've started consultations with clusters coordinators in order to review the MEB. Actually, for 6 months now, we've noticed that there is an increase in the prices on the market, especially with regards to food staples. And for 3 months, we have invited WFP to monitor the prices in the market and also to make presentations at the cash working group level. Following this, food security cluster asked us have worked and showed that there is an increase of more than 32% in the prices on the market. And with regards to our food basket now, the basket doesn't cover the needs currently. So in the households of 7 people, the MEB is beyond the threshold, the baseline of threshold, which was 40,000 per month for the 7 households. And this is even exacerbated in other regions of the country. Following this, we've decided to start working with a small group, which will start the consultations with clusters coordination, and all of them I will see what are the clusters that would like to review their MEB and how are we going to proceed with that review. And we've also linked up with the national mechanism in order to discuss about the review of this MEB. The mechanism of the cash is also there, and the government part is in the group with us working on this. After this, we've also launched a survey through a programmatic analysis in order to see how partners are setting up cash transfers. So through the existing transfer mechanisms, transfer values that are used, and how do they target people, and are government officials involved in the targeting, and how are they associated in the targeting? Are there any complaints or grievance mechanism? Or how is the monitoring conducted with regards to the implementation? So we've decided to do this work because most of the time we are called upon by the government, and when we organize missions in the field or in the regions, they say that they are not associated in the implementation of the cash transfers. And the complaint is all mostly regarding the targeting. They said that they don't know how we work on the targeting, and some partners are coming just to talk about the interventions without associating the authorities. And with the current situation, there is that recommendation of seeing how to work and involve the authorities at the local level. So we are doing this work currently. We've already shared the matrix with the partners. We've got first results, which we've analyzed. We've also launched that matrix in order to get a maximum of participants and a maximum for organizations to fill in this matrix in order to allow us to conduct a thorough analysis which we could share with the authorities in order to find out how, with the partners, we are working on the cash transfer. So those are the 2 points that Niger wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatima, for those points you mentioned. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat box. But there is a question. We have a question here. Good morning, Fatima. Thank you very much for the information. I would like to come back on the last point and how the different authorities are playing the program is, do you want to inform them on how it works? What happened is related to access. Many partners, we have problems accessing some amounts, especially administrative problems. Authorities do not allow us to reach some areas, and they are also asking us at the same time in even some missions we need to go there with a civil servant. When it comes to targeting, we are trying our best to associate them and to see how we do the targeting. Many times they have complained by saying that they don't know how we identify our beneficiaries. So we associate them when we are on ground, and also they see how we target everyone. Thank you, Fatima. I can see that there is a hand raised. Cornelie. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cornelie Sifa from Niger. Just to add to what Fatima said, the matrix we have implemented is actually to collect information with 2 objectives. So the first objective is to have infographics, and so that people, when they meet authorities, they can also discuss with them and show them what they are doing, what are the different steps, what are different stages. And with our Mondays is how we can associate the government in our different activities, targeting, to mention a few, and to see how we can be transparent about all the aspects. Thank you. Thank you, Cornelie. If you have questions, you can just mention them in the chat box so that we can move forward. We can give the floor to the cash working group from Nigeria. If you can also introduce yourself very briefly.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. This is Rami Beradar, working with CRS in Northeast Nigeria as the co-lead of the cash working group. I've just joined late January, and I'm actually making my way to Maiduguri, where I'll be based this weekend. I just want to give you very brief bullet points, 5 points perhaps, that came up from our annual workshop in February. On the first one, which kind of rings through with our DRC colleagues, we're actually conducting gap analysis for joint market monitoring in the Northeast region. And we're just looking at where our potential gaps are so that we can approach our donors if there's any additional funding needed. We're also working with the food security sector to harmonize the food indicators within the market monitoring. So this way we have some interchangeable data sets and analysis as well. So that's our first first priority that came from the workshop. Another one is the financial service provider mapping, which was also touched upon by some colleagues. We are currently in the final stages of revising the tool itself, the questionnaire or the tool, and we will go live very soon to be able to produce this product, which again came out strongly with our members. Number 3 is we've actually reworked our work plan for the year 2024 and reprioritized as per the workshop outcomes. And we will be publishing this work plan once we are done finalizing it. Number 4, we looked at, as you know, with the new cash coordination model, there is a suggested template for the TOR for cash working groups. So we've revised our TOR for the cash working group to align with the global template from the Global Cash Advisory Group. And again, this will be published very soon. And lastly, we really looked into, and it was actually very encouraging. Our members were very happy to talk about social protection and CVA linkages. And in Nigeria, we're lucky because we have what we call the NCVA policy, which is a national cash and voucher assistance policy by the government. And just in the last few days, a work plan for that, for operationalizing that CVA policy has been circulated to our members. So a lot of developments, a lot of work to be done over the year. We're happy to share those updates and we'll report back to you. If you have any questions or would like to contact us, we're always available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Remy, for the points that you've made. And don't forget, if you have some questions, don't forget to put them in the chat box so that you can answer the questions. We can very quickly give the floor to all the left 3 countries. Is there someone who would like to make responses for the DRC? Can I call it in my name? I'm from the PAM working group. We have 2 points on the agenda. The first point, which is the framework, the minimum that we have to send to the clusters. In the first participation that we had an exercise and we said that we should work on the MED. We have worked on the planning on the different stages. We have also discussed with the different clusters to have the minimum basket that was conducted till late February, and we've reached, which is supporting us, who is supporting us. We will have a discussion between REACH, WFPO, and another organization, and we are trying to put in place the different steps to put in place the MED. The objective is, first of all, to have all the MEDs, which are linked to the all clusters. And once we will have that, we will try to see the value of the different cash transfers and which is located to different clusters. And what we said is we will try our best to also include CASES and ENSA, the statistics institutes of our country. And we have also mentioned that the MED has 2 components, the food component and the non-food component. And we have also to take into consideration during this exercise the needs. We shouldn't the needs, and we shouldn't go beyond the minimal wage paid in the country. We have to take into considerations all different aspects. The working group that has been set to discuss about MED until late April, we're going to work on the structure, what we can implement. The second point is related to the training. We had a training coming from CALC, and currently we are discussing to have the second training. And we are working on the back date and what will be the different participants we will invite, governments, the different agents of the government, and all people working in the social sector and humanitarian sector, so that they can also take part in this training in the coming future. We are also available if there are some other training related to market analysis, and we are following everything that is related to trainings. And if there are opportunities in the area or in the region for trainings, we are available for that. Thank you very much. Thank you for those points. Once again, if you have questions, put them in the chat box. The last country, Chad. Hassan, very briefly, if you can introduce the points. Good morning, Mirko. Good morning, everyone. For Chad, we are going to kick off with the situation in the East region. We have the inflow of refugees from according to the figures, we have 5,900 and 89% are women and children. We also for the repatriated people is accounts for 94%. This is the last update of the situation in the East region. We are monitoring the situation. Now, when it comes to the second activities, we are trying to compile the dashboard of what we did in 2023. We are going to complete it, the dashboard, by the end of this month. There is also another activity which is related to the MVP. We want to review it with a deadline, which will be at the end of this month of March. The last point is the elections. The facilitators, we had 4 candidates: Concern, ERC, and CARE. They applied for this position. We have also Concern for facilitator. Elections are ongoing, and the results, they have a deadline till Friday, and then after Friday they will give the results the coming week. Thank you very much, Hassan. Once again, if you have questions, don't forget to put them in the chat box. Let me check if Togo is around. I don't know if Togo is connected. I can't see him. So we're going to try to contact him for the next meeting. And also Côte d'Ivoire will maybe present some points, introduce some points. If you still have questions, don't forget to put them in the chat box. I will give the floor to my colleague. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the presentations that we have for today. On the first presentation from the DRC. Mohammed, if you're ready, we have all this. We are already showing the presentation. Good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you very much for giving us the floor so that we can introduce a bit the lesson that we are capitalizing around cash transfers, which is in link with community projects that we have implemented in very remote areas. Yabo, I don't want to comment images, but we are trying to answer the questions. First of all, we have to put it into context. In DRC, first of all, what is with all the things that is going on, with the crisis that we have in the East region, we have very violent conflicts now with some periods of no problem. We have this strip in the East region with all the tools that we have used for evaluation. We have some provinces which are classified in a literary. We have Dugu, where we have an open conflict between two communities, where we have the three problems: logistical access, physical access, and a security-related aspects. As you know, in North Kivu, you know it, you know the problem. We, in this context, we've tried to have a project around a fund that we called ICIP. We want actually to have a community projects. There are micro projects that community are implementing after a process of mediation. And they can also draw action plans which are validated by the same communities. What happened around the project, after the different mediation that we had, we experienced two approaches related to the context. That's why I would like to explain between the Nord Kivitz and Lituri. To select the different projects, first of all, we have our awareness raising at the community level to identify the different conflicts and to try to find an answer to the conflict, a preventive answer to the conflict, and then have a discussion with local authorities. Try to see what are the different conflicts that we can prevent and through the community projects. We have two or more communities that are in tension or in conflict. This is what you have to understand in the logic. And then after we have other consultations to identify the needs and try to have a steering committee. And then after that, the committee, after the support of the different staff, there are different position and the different job descriptions that we have to explain. That will also try to fill the protocol for the development of the project. We have the validation workshop at the level of the community and at the level of the at our level, and we'll have a document which will help us to enroll the project. And cash is one aspect of implementation of it. When it comes to the project implementation and the protocol, it gives the different responsibilities. We can't hear the speaker anymore. We lost the speaker. We can't hear on the speaker anymore. There is a problem with the speaker. I think it's related to the connection. We lost him. Are you with us? I'm really sorry, my connection is not great, so I'm just going to cut the video and continue. So there is a plan, a scheme that we have that will allow us to have monitoring and evaluation. And the last point is the official handover of the project to the communities. Can we move a bit further? Okay. Just some examples of the projects that we have conducted. We have construction and renovations, healthcare centers, classrooms, wash projects. We had what are the certain villages in which everything has been wiped out. We had also the shelter of uprooted families. Cash has been used for that. We have also some markets. And as you know, market is also a space in which people can meet, especially in conflict areas. Well, this is just a picture of a classroom. There is something that I would like to say by saying that by using cash for activities, we had a lot of economies. Just let's look at these classrooms the 6 classrooms that we built. Is around 4,000 and 4,500, but we have noticed that with cash, by doing the cash to the communities, we reduce very significantly the amount which has been used for the classrooms. This project that was conducted was a successful project in the territory of Jamhai, in the province of Lituri. It costs around $15,000, but if we have to look at it per class, we have used $2,500, and we used cash to go around the projects which the conflict has created. It's the same thing also for this project. Is a project of 7 kilometers with four bridges. IMO was the crowdfunding aspects of the communities, and we had 7 kilometers which allowed us to connect 2 villages. They had around 7,000 households. This is also another borehole water supply. We've used the different, we've used the cash. It was a little bit expensive. If we have to use our normal weight, that will maybe take us 1 year to do that. But with cash, we were able to complete it in 3 months. The other thing is also the materials that we've used. The community buy it very cheaply compared to organizations. I was talking about the market. We have markets that we have supported at Maggie. We have at least 2 shells. And that's also spread after the activity of cohesion and connections around this market. Now, the different challenges that we encountered. First of all, the diversity of the different procedures. If we have to use the procedure which is conformed to different organizations, we'll notice that the process can also lengthen the process. With the communities, they had their own process, but they were not able to associate us because if they associated, that will be very long. There is another issue which is related to the management of the cash. We were in communities in which this is the first time for them to have those kinds of activities of constructions or community activities with those costs, with those amounts that we give to them. We have noticed that if we have to implement it next time, we have to put an emphasis on the training. There is also the question related to the multiplicity of communities. We have different instances in the community, and the problem was how to have a person that represents a different interest. We have different groups, how we have to integrate them and to let them know that they are also stakeholders and to respond to the questions related to inclusion. One thing that we are exploring is how we have to put it into context and give a legal existence form to those initiatives, not only when it comes to cash transfers, but how we can develop banking transfers with at least 3 representatives, and how we can also monitor all the and we won't be facing any problem of investment or any other things. Now, in terms of benefits, when we look at the response, which is a local response that helps us to go around some constraints. I talked about the access constraints, and which can also be related to security. Communities which are in the area, they can also have a supply, which is very close to them. We've lost the speaker. We still have some problems. Really sorry, really sorry. I don't know what is going on with my connection. So we reached a level where we have communities which are saying that it's our first time they can find themselves in projects. We had feedbacks for organization by saying that when we were in the communities, they said that are we going to use the same approach as NEC? So that's just to explain that how people were eager to be implemented in how they can do that. I think we still have connection issues with him. Valerie? Before I know comes again, I can also talk about some points because we are already late. Are you back, Naino? Are you back? Okay. For the last point, which concern the ownership. Another lesson learned. Valerie, can you conclude very quickly?
I'm a bit lost. If we still have some time, we can go back to the previous slide where some key interesting points were highlighted. We've seen that with regards to the choice of cash transfer in response, we have a kind of double modality, that is local response and cash transfer. What we have seen is that NRC could not have access to the site. I think my laptop has an issue. So we are using the same approach for cash on many activities. If I say many activities, it's be it wash sector or construction, but also in education. So those are the points I wanted to share with you. I don't know if Valerie could say something or have things to add. Over to you. Valerie, you have the floor. Please continue as you have started already speaking. Yes, thank you, Naino. And yes, very sorry for bandwidth issue. What we found interesting in this experience is that in very complex, outreach areas, the fact of using the local response and cash transfer leads to the fact that as a community is responsible for the implementation for security reasons, essentially, NRC will not go to the sites. And actually, if these are works, constructions continue. And this helps to temporarily go over the access issue, but for the monitoring, NRC has a strong role to play. This works only temporarily. And I think it's important, the key roles are important, at least with the various phases we need to trigger the next steps. These are transfers or these are various installments which are conditions by the results of the convention. So the fact of validating all these steps and finalize all these to be done with NRC involved, and not only with mixed committees. What we've also noted, and what Nano was saying, is the motivation of communities. And that point joins the point 8 of ownership, where we have seen that we have two examples of projects that are still ongoing, notably the WASH projects or WASH works, where communities are already organized to collect money, and they know what they are going to do with that money. They know they are planning extension of the networks or multiplying water points, and which is very interesting because when you deliver the works, on the point 4, the flexibility and the high cost of the project, what we have noticed is that as these are communities, suppliers are part of these communities, and if there is a need to deliver the material before payment, they are more flexible than international organizations, national organizations. And as they are part of the community, they have more interesting prices. They have another motivation and another pressure. And this is the community, it's not a big international organization. So those are the advantages in as for the simplification of procedures, we have talked about this, and strengthening the responsibilities and accountabilities are important. Accountability of communities vis-a-vis the works is something on which we should something we should emphasize on in order to make sure that this is still being used and maintained, just like in a classical project. It's true that we are wondering how we can work all along the implementation in order to strengthen accountability after the end of the project itself. So that's it. Next slide, please, for conclusion. So the first part was on more on community projects and local response. Sorry, it's a presentation on 3 or 2 topics, sorry. And there is a change in the roles, and it's interesting because it strengthens the technical role and technical expertise in the design or elaboration of the project and the monitoring, and we spend less time on logistical issues essentially. And also the role of facilitator in the consultations is that we are just guiding the communities, and we allow the communities to take the lead, and we are just guiding them on the project. And I'll conclude on the use of how to reach cash transfers. And like we have said, this is the cash and local transfers and context, which takes into account security context and the logistical context. Thank you very much. All good, Cedric? I think we are okay with the time. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you for sharing all these ideas with us. And this experience of NRC. Which highlights the priorities that NRC have in the cash transfer. And this is an experience that has just been presented to us, and which shows the advantage of priority approaches, community approaches. And we have other aspects like awareness raising of the communities, time saving, valorization of local initiatives, etc. So it's a sort of taking position for NRC to give more responsibilities to the communities. And of course, we have some challenges in terms of purchase or procurement and various communities. So there is a need to handle all this. For those who would like to go through this initiative, we have to notice or highlight the lack of capacities, especially for some communities, which most of the time don't have a legal background. And this could help with a kind of bancarization in terms of funding. As a takeaway from this presentation, there is a question in the chat box. Valerie, could you answer to the question in the chat box? There is another question. We have questions. I'm not seeing any hand raised. Yeah. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I hope you can hear me. I was even typing in my question in the chat box. I saw in the presentation that the approach was also used in the construction of health facilities. But my question is the procedures in building a health center is part of an emergency response, or is it a development context? To whom the resources are given for the construction? Is it through cash transfer in the framework of an aid through assistance through cash? Or are you going to use a team or a local company at the local level for the execution of the project? Thank you. To answer to this, cash transfers were done systematically to committees, and the committees are responsible for managing the cash and were responsible for paying the suppliers or the construction company or the institution they have selected for the implementation of the project. And to add on this, depending on the nature of the project, we have the representative of the government. For example, with regards to the health facilities, this is done with the representatives of the chief doctor of the area or the Ministry of Health. The same applies to school. So there are issues related to the standards which are handled by the specialists and authorities in charge of this issue. The same applies to engineering works and also to water points works, but and our environment, including education. Thank you very much. I've put my question in the chat box, but let me bounce on it. I have two additional questions. Actually, I would like to know how you determine those needs. I know that you've explained that you had community consultations, and how have you prioritized the needs, and how have you determined the amounts to be used? Because building a school class or building a health facility or a road require different amounts. How have you determined all this? Do you have a tool that you have used, especially the communities, to prioritize those needs? And also, can you please do these kinds of presentations in terms of experience sharing? If, for example, Niger invites you, could you please share that experience with us? Because I think it's a very interesting project. And here in Niger, I'll take this opportunity to say it. We are working on the flagship logic, and that is what we would like to do in terms of humanitarian actions. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Fatima. I can even come to Niger when I'll be on leave to support you. And now, to answer to your question, what we have done to identify those projects, we have what we call the action plan of the various communities, and we've reviewed and updated these action plans. In the mediation process, the action plans have their budgets, and many community projects are inside the action plan. And the revised version is the one presented to the steering committee, which encompasses all the stakeholders. And at that moment, we try to list the projects. For example, they could propose projects that they would like to conduct. We are going to submit these same projects to our technical teams, which will study the technical aspects of it, the financial aspect, but also the relevance of the projects in the process. And at that moment, we give them a feedback, telling them that they have a certain number of projects and we can finance the so and so project. And we can also guide you towards other organizations to keep your projects if the other projects, and if you have possibilities, you can implement them. This requires the involvement of various actors, be it technical or financial, but also the communities as well. We also have the prioritization or priority matrix, which shows us the most relevant projects in the framework of social cohesion or mediation, see what is more relevant for both communities. Those are the points we work on. We have various settings taken into consideration to assess and select the community project. It is done democratically. We have various discussions among the communities and NRC technicians. I have something to add. This is not exactly on what we are talking. We've talked about how to save time regarding logistical procedures, etc. However, on doing the preparations, this require more time because it requires a lot of work and time to gather all the stakeholders so that we can have a very inclusive process. We need everyone. I mean, we need this to be done properly. It's interesting, but it requires more time and resources. We should not neglect this in this kind of project. Thank you very much, Valerie. Because of time, we'll move to the next presentation. But I'm seeing in the chat box some questions. I'll try to answer to those questions in the chat box when we move forward. Thank you so much to NRC team for your presentation. So Sophie, let's move on. Let's move to the next presentation. This is the presentation from Solidarité International. Thank you very much, and thanks to the team for allowing us to introduce to you a project on cash transfer. Thank you for making room for it. The idea is to present a small project on cash transfer in Niger, even though Niger has difficulties. Teams were confronted with difficulties because of the current situation. It's a project in Tilaberi region. So Solidarité International Niger conducted a migration in 2018. And today we have 3 operational bases in Dada, Talibangu, and Tai in the Tilaberi region. So the various activities emergencies, multi-sectoral emergency responses with a focus on wash and shelter, and also programming on food security and an improvement of access to basic services, rehabilitation of livelihoods, be it on the rehabilitation of water points and awareness raising on hygiene, but also on support to agricultural and food production. So that is a program of Solidarité. The project I would like to talk about is a project which was in the Gotei region in Niger. First, with the situation, as you can see yourself, since July 2023, the situation in Niger got exacerbated with economic sanctions from the international community and ECOWAS, which had an important impact on the lives of people, displaced people, and refugees in Niger. So, based on these sanctions, Solidarity waited for the opening of the zones after the humanitarian suspension in order to support the displaced population and apply a response to food security and livelihood. The project has two major components. First of all, we have the response to immediate needs of displaced populations. What is interesting in this is that the idea of this activity is to go as far as possible in the country and go to the out-to-reach areas where some actors don't go and target some small population displacements, given that in some areas RRM in Niger covers a kind of displacements on a threshold of 50 households. We've noticed that there are small population displacements which are not in the scope of RRM, and this gives a response to immediate needs or basic needs through cash transfer, multiple use cash transfer. And we have three cycle of assistance and cover uh, various layers of the MEB, 70% of the MEB. So the idea here is to support also population, displaced population or local population, which is extremely vulnerable and in case of food insecurity. The idea is to couple an emergency response to a sustainable response with a support during the lean season and couple this with distribution of agricultural inputs, layout of vegetable gardens, and support. We need a more sustainable support for populations who have access to land. In addition to this activity, we need to involve support to income generating activities to people who don't have access to livelihoods in those areas. The interest in the project is to have these double activities, especially in the out to reach areas and in complement to existing programs in the area. Next slide, please. The results of the first assistance showed that the most important use of cash transfer assistance was in food staples. And of course, I was saying there was a delay in the assistance. And it's not a surprise that food staples take most of the funds destined to the population. And, we also have the use of cash during the lean period. For the MPCA, around 560 people were targeted. And for the lean season period, we have 700 people plus 34 households for non-agricultural income generating activities. This is a flexible and dynamic project in its approach, which will target very remote populations. As for challenges and success in this program, of course, the fact of being in frontline areas leads to important security risks, and a monitoring of security situation should be conducted on a daily basis. Solidarité made tremendous efforts in order to access these areas and keep that access alive despite suspension of activities and despite important security challenges. We have an important acceptation of the communities due to this double program and emergency program in terms of response and also in terms of support in the agricultural recovery and support to livelihood. This acceptation guarantees the access aspects in these areas and allows to have close monitoring with the community. In the achievements as well, we need to allow the populations to target those who may not be taken into account by RRM projects, but also social protection projects. So these are populations out of the scope of big alerts or warnings, but which require an assistance from Solidarité. As for the main challenges, as you know, the suspension of activities in Niger was a turning point in 2023. The year was really complicated, but Solidarité got prepared so that once the suspension was lifted, the recovery of activities became very dynamic. Financial suspensions in Niger created a big challenge on mobile transfers. We had difficulties to have even cash in the banks, and the mitigation measures found with regards to these financial sanctions were to associate or link up with microfinance institutions and open more bank accounts to have access to cash. We also need microfinance institutions to create a kind of nexus and go around the difficulties of access to local funding. We also have signed contract with financial partners at the local level. And thanks to that, we've been able to implement this program. And of course, you know, bringing in little funds and try to find solution to the issue create a setback to the project. But today we are happy for having launched these cash transfer activities and having found interesting solutions to financial sanctions. Since the lifting of humanitarian activity suspension in some areas, the access became reduced because of administrative burden especially in the validation of some movements of NGOs in some areas, which will be done by the government. And this is a hurdle for the process. We need to have a flexible programming which is adapted to these difficulties, and this allows Solidarity to have continuous access in the areas. And finally, sorry for being so fast in the presentation, we have an advocacy, the decrease in the funding in Niger of the main donors creates very important bottlenecks in these areas. The situation and economic sanctions increase the needs in all the sectors of the population, and particularly in displaced population. So it's an advocacy message I would like to share so that the funding could come and cover the needs which are becoming important in Niger. So that is my presentation. The idea also is to say that this is a project at a small scale in some areas, which gives us flexibility and allow us to go far in the front line. And the scaling up of this program, which links emergency and displacement movements, as well as sustainable activities, will have an important impact on the lives of the population and allow to gain in terms of acceptation and mobilization of the communities in implementing this program. Thank you. Your questions are welcome as well as your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I'm trying to summarize. I'm going to summarize what are the immediate needs and the forthcoming needs in the context of difficult access to areas. As Domi said it, the agricultural production was increased. It's true that it wasn't without any difficulties, without any challenges. We had some restrictions of movement, and we have other challenges. At the level of banks, the new administration, and also the decrease of funding. As far as sanctions are concerned, we had those sanctions, but we were able to wake a bit. If you have questions for Noemi, you can just put the questions in the chat box so that we can answer the questions on the due time. Thank you very much. Do you have questions or online? Do you have questions in the room there or online? I think the presentation was very comprehensive. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you to all the teams, NSA, Solidarity. They share have experiences. I will just give the floor to the speaker for the last point. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Thank you for the presentations. If you have questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat box and we can answer the questions. So we're going to move to the last point, the presentation and the validation of the annual plan of the working group, the regional working group. Let me pull up the document and share it with you. I hope you can see the document. This is the draft of it. And we had also a discussion. We have a consultative group at the regional level. We are going to present it to you next time. The first activity is the normal meeting that we have. We will have it every 2 months. We have also the different teams. We're also going to propose to you some presentations. Cash transfer. We have also the different approaches in different areas in remote and difficult areas of access. We have also human mobilities, refugees, and as last priority, also we have discussed about the cash transfer and also climate change. These are the different themes that we have proposed. Today, we would like also to introduce to you the different themes and also try to have your inputs. If you think that we have some of the points that we have to rework on, don't hesitate to put your comments or take the floor and also bring your inputs. Second activity, we have also the organization of a regional working group here in Dakar. in 2 or 3 days with all the leads and co-leads. As far as elections has been postponed, we have also to postpone the different dates. We are waiting for Pascal to confirm this meeting. We will have other sections. We will discuss with them. And the meeting is also open to everyone that is based here. And you can also participate in the different exchanges. The third activity is related to the support of CWGs so that they can participate in the drafts. As you can see, we think that is very important for the cash working group, where OCHA will be the lead responsible. After that, we'll have also capacity building of the cash working groups. And that is not only for training. We are trying to support also different countries, financially or technically. And we can also talk about some technical aspects, cartography, mapping, etc., etc. Is an activity which will be for the whole year. Is an ad hoc support, and we are trying to structure it better. We are also discussing with a cash working group of Togo and Benin. We do not have already a group in Benin, but we hope under the leadership of FARM to have one there. We are discussing with them to see how we can train. We can have a training session for 1 week. Humanitarian for humanitarian staff and other staff so that they can be prepared for the change. We will also have a workshop on how we can adapt cash transfer programs to inflation and depreciation. As you know, last year we had a consultant which released a report for the region, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, how to adapt cash transfers to the legislation. This year we'll have a workshop on how they can support their members to adopt the programs of cash transfer. After that, we will have also a support of cash working group in planning activities and mobilizing resources. We've tried to have it last year, at the end of last year. And we would like to support so that they can also plan their own activities and to mobilize resources if necessary. Resources can be mobilized through the working groups and different members. Everyone has the possibility to support, and even we have donors which can also help us. We will also have another activity, which is a transversal activity at the regional level. We have also other platforms, regional platforms like the Regional Social Protection Platform. We are also organizing with them a certain webinars. We have also the regional task force on access and humanitarian principles. They can also support us in different meetings. The different challenges and many aspects will be explored. We also have the mapping. We are trying to structure it so that we can launch the research on cash transfers in the region. We're going to send a questionnaire to the different structures so that we can have a mapping of the different researches ongoing for 2024 so that we can share them with all of you and to avoid to have duplications in the research. We're trying to work together and bring our support. And as I said, we talked about it in other businesses. We have launched the mapping. We have heard people mention Burkina Faso and other countries which have a difficulty with cash transfers. We know that the condition didn't improve in Burkina Faso for 1 year, and we have also the northern part of Togo. We said that we have to analyze all the conditions of our transfer and their risks. In some countries, we have a ban. In other countries, the risk is only a risk because the cash working group mobilize themselves to work in it so that to avoid the risk to increase. We've shared a Excel file with some actors and try to collect data concerning what are the different reasons, the different risks allocated to some regions. We have also tried to understand what are the different actions implemented. In the region, we have the case in Cameroon and Nigeria last year, and both cash working group were able to advocate to have the ban being lifted. And we begin to see also if there are some measures that we can also explore. We have also some other cash working group we can work with. If there are restrictions, if there are some new regulations introduced by a government. So that we will continue to use the methodology of cash transfers for beneficiaries with the different possibilities and the different cash transfer which are allowed. We have electronic transfers, we have the different systems. If some response, those transfers are not concluded. So we are continuing working on it, and we are trying, we are presenting it to you, we'll introduce it to you very soon. The last activities. You have the annual survey that you have to send, as we did last year. At the end of the year, we are going to do that also so that we can collect the perception of people and ask you what are the priorities for the coming year. This year, we are going to start a bit early so that we can have a presentation of what we have collected in the first quarter, in the first semester, quarter of the coming years. This is the summary of what I have. Let me stop sharing the screen. If you have some comments, some suggestions, don't hesitate to raise your hand so that we can discuss it and validate it together. Do you have questions in the room? Do you have questions, or do you agree with the proposal? If there is no problem, if you can just give me a thumbs up so that I can know that, okay, the proposal is good and we can proceed. I can see a hand from Lionel. Good morning, dear colleagues. Good morning, Mirko. I just want to come back on the action plan, which concerns how to avoid the different bans of the cash transfer in Burkina Faso and in Togo. I can't remember how it's formulated, but my question is to know, is just a question asked, or is there a concrete action to, as it's formulated, it's a kind of, it's like a question just to have an answer, or do we have a communication, an advocacy? How is it going to be conducted to support the countries which are facing the situation, and how we can also prevent it? Thank you very much, Lionel. As we said, in the annual plan, there is a mapping. Indeed, we are already reflecting. We are drafting the TORs to have a consultant who will going to analyze the different information to also analyze data, a workshop with 1, 2, or 4 caching group. And then after, we can have also recommendations, or the different recommendations of prevention or other bans in some regions or other countries. As you know, it's also related to the region. I hope that we will have, through the analysis, a report after the workshop with the cash working groups. If we have proposals or recommendations, a particular strategy that we should implement. Like we've heard in Niger, where they expressed the need to work with local communities. I hope that we will have recommendation that will help, which will help us and different organizations to find a solution to this problem, which is very complex. Yeah. After the intervention with SAME, is something that is pending there since 1 year. Unfortunately, we do not have a magic solution, but we have to explore. And what are the different reasons? Why do they have those bans? And try to maybe lift this ban or try to find other solutions. Maybe in another meeting we can explore those points. I don't know if you have other comments or other questions. Maybe in the annual plans, we can specify them before talking about the MAPN. If there is no question, we can explore the any other business. I can't see any other business. If someone has A or B, we're going to share also the link of the last newsletter with the minutes. We have also launched a section which is called 101, where we had resources available online. You can explore those resources. If you have some doubts about some points, you can also test those. You will see, you will have access to that. You will share the link with you. I just have a question. I would like to know, in the past, we have a front page where we have countries on your platform, but I don't know if that is still continuing. Thank you very much, Fatima. I'm going to share with you the link in the chat. Are you talking about the page where you have the contacts and all the information, the details? We had it in the past, and also the productions of every country, which was posted so that everyone can have access to it. Experiences that we can have, we can share documents, everything that is produced in the cash working groups. In the past, it was in the window, and every country has a specific window. I know that there was a platform like that in the past. If it's on our website, we still have it. We have a dedicated page which can, when you click on it, can redirect you to the country cash working group. I don't know if it's the one you are talking about. We also have humanitarian info, which has been merged with and you can share your documents there, and it's accessible to anyone. For us, this page is available, and if there are some changes, we continue updating it. That's why we have created a group with all the details, the contact details of the cash working groups members. Thank you very much, Abdullah. We also have the regional page. We still update it with presentations, reports, which are very interesting at the regional level. If you also have resources, reports, or interesting things, you can share them with us. We will upload them online, whether it's at the regional page or you can also send it to us. We will post them online, and we will try also to update the page with the contacts of lead and co-leads. We'll do it systematically so that all the countries will be there. I also think that we have the possibility, a page in which you have information. If you think that there are some of the things we have to gather, you can also send them to us, and we will upload them on the website so that people can have access, and they can also have access to all information from the different working groups. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria. I don't know if you have a last question. We are almost at the end. Let me check if there is a question. So there's no question. We will have another meeting in May. That will be the first week of May. And we can also update change if the presentation, if the presenters are not available. Thank you very much. I wish a good day. Thank you very much to all presenters, and see you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.